Hi, this is Joe Polish, and I'm here at the Automattic headquarters with Mr. Matt Mullenweg, a god among men, as you know, in the tech world, right? No, I'm kidding. Anyway, Matt, I'm wearing the WordPress gear here. So he's the founder of WordPress, and when did you start this company?
WordPress, the software, started in 2003. Automattic, which is the company whose office we're at right now, started in 2005.
Now, when you say started, that was like you somewhere probably in boxers, in a t-shirt, having not slept for like 4 days, like, you know, just figured out code. I mean, how does what sort of like brainiac sort of person starts, you know, the largest, if not one of the largest blogging softwares open source in the world? I mean, how did you come up with this?
It was very modest in the beginning. It was, it started based on a previous weblogging product called B2, which was also open source. And it was basically, I was using it for my own blog and started extending it, trying to make it easier, faster to get set up for people who didn't know a ton of tech stuff. And also just more representative of where I thought the web was going. Okay,
cool. And by the way, this will just hang tight, because later on in this very short video, you're going to have an opportunity to get your very own WordPress t-shirt. And yeah, it'll be sort of similar to that, or it'll say something like "Code is Poetry" on it, but I'll show you that in a little bit. So think about if you've got a really cool WordPress blog, the top 3 coolest ideas posted on ilovemarketing.com are going to get their very own WordPress t-shirt that Matt will personally give to me to mail to you. Okay, so fast forward to today, how many people use WordPress?
A little over 30 million blogs around the world.
Did you ever have a goal or an objective that you thought this would take off like this, or what were you trying to create?
No idea. It was really just, in the beginning I just wanted software for myself. And the fact that other people were using it was a happy surprise. And in fact, there weren't very many people using it for a long time.
Okay, so a company that's, I mean, clearly worth, I don't know if you can even say what it's worth, but millions and millions of dollars. How much of this was accident? How much of this was strategy? Meaning, at what point, like, do you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, or
the mistakes were all strategy, the successes were all accidents.
No, but do you think of yourself as an entrepreneur? Or how do you think of yourself?
I do. I think partially because, to me, one of the definitions of entrepreneur, maybe the best definition, is that you're just so obsessed with what you're doing. You're thinking of it constantly, night and day. In the shower, when you're eating, when you're on a date, you know, just wherever you are.
Right.
And that's how I think about WordPress. I'm thinking about it constantly.
Okay, cool. So what advice do you have for young people that are super creative, that just, you know, they want to go out and accomplish big stuff? And I mean, you're a young guy, you're 27 years old right now, as we're talking. And what advice would you give for young people with creative ideas on it? Any sort of pass or suggestions on things you've learned, mistakes to avoid, who to listen to, who not to listen to, anything that would be wisdom that you could impart?
I guess the number one thing in this day and age, like if I were starting today, is just learn to code. That's so
learn
crucial.
To code,
yeah.
Wow.
To everything. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to code the final version or something like that, but just being able to understand the fundamentals of how things work on the web will enable you both to prototype your ideas, sort of see what works and doesn't, and then also hire better folks. You know, when you do start to hire, you know, the engineers who are going to scale it up, or the CTO, or whoever it might be. Yeah, just learning to code is a huge empowerment. I think it might have been at your conference a year or two ago, I said that coding is the new literacy.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I feel bad because I don't know how to code, so I'm going to immediately run out. I feel like a failure right at this moment because I don't know how to code. Well, no, that's awesome. So what's funny, this is totally
I'm sure
true.
you know how to do punch cards and stuff like that.
A little bit. Yes, a little bit. I do know how to delegate that, though. I said earlier, you know, I sent you a text and I said, you know, I'd like to see the WordPress headquarters, and so yeah, you know, if you want to be down here, and so it's Monday, and so I'm thinking I'm going to show up to like a staff and a bunch of people, because you have like 80-something people that work for you, and there's like no one here, and I'm like, are you joking? And this is it. So,
they heard you were coming, they all left.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like a bad reputation that way. So what is this? Maybe we can kind of do a scan of the head, and you can explain how you actually have it set up for people to work here and all that jazz.
So as you can see, it's kind of, we actually call it the Automattic Lounge. It's right here on the pier in San Francisco, Pier 38. And you can see the water and some boats out there. And it's set up very informal. There's no computers here, which is funny for an internet company.
Exactly.
Everyone just brings a laptop. We did just get some upgraded chairs where people aren't going to kill their back. This is usually where people work when we come in. We have about 6 people in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so they'll come in usually on Thursdays, but most days, most people work from home. Even myself, I live a block away from here. And given my druthers, I'll probably work from home because I can be more effective there. I'll come in here usually for meetings or interviews or things like that.
Right. Or to get annoyed by me and have to give away free clothes and stuff.
We got some couches in the corner.
Okay.
This is my favorite place to nap.
So you actually do nap here, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I think you've seen my office. Actually, I don't know if you've seen my office. You've been in my conference. You've never been in my office. I have a full-blown bedroom with a bidet and like washer and dryer, walk-in shower. I mean, it's crazy.
Cool.
But hey, what the heck? All right.
And then right over here we have the bar. Actually, this space was created to be a restaurant.
So
originally,
let's get that video close so you can at least pick up his voice. All right, so it was designed to be a restaurant?
The space was originally built out to be a restaurant, so this was going to be the bar and kitchen area. But we just have it actually as sort of our t-shirt stock area, our giveaways, stickers and shirts and things like that.
Okay, so let's show some t-shirts over here. So here's what I like. For people that listen to our podcasts and our recordings and whatnot on iTunes and at ilovemarketing.com, what Matt's going to do is he's going to give me a few t-shirts, and what I'd like is if you're doing something really innovative, really cool, you have a really awesome blog, you're someone like Tim Ferriss who has a really awesome blog, and you want to share on ilovemarketing.com the comments actually right below this video. I'll post this on ilovemarketing.com also. You can make comments of something really awesome that you're doing with WordPress, and that could be to raise money for a foundation, a charity, a cause, a for-profit business. If you have lots of people that read what it is you write, go ahead and share it. If there's any unique ways that you've taken add-ons and Frankenstein them all together and you've created something innovative, please share that with us. In the top 3 that we feel, me and Dean Jackson, we will actually send you a t-shirt. Now this one, Matt, says code is poetry. What does that mean to you?
Code is poetry is kind of the WordPress motto. It was since the earliest days, even before I can remember with WordPress. And it was just, at the time I was studying T.S. Eliot in school. And I was very inspired by how, a single line in The Wasteland or in the Portrait of an Artist of the Young Man could have so many illusions and so much meaning packed into just a few words. And so I thought, well, isn't that something that would be beautiful to emulate in code, where small bits of beautiful code could have a ton of functionality built into them. And it's something we aspire to do with WordPress.
Gotcha. Well, we did a short video in the mall yesterday after we watched the movie, and I asked you some of the latest things that you're kind of up to, but I'd like to do that again. So what are some of the new initiatives, some of the new things you've launched for WordPress users that you would recommend that they start using, check out? Any recommendations for your clients out there? One of the 30 million that may stumble across this video.
The 3 things I really recommend right now that are kind of a renewed focus for us are one, Akismet, which is our anti-spam product.
Say that slower, so.
Akismet, A-K-I-S-M-E-T.
Okay. Akismet.
.com.
All right.
Just because you have better things to do with your time than delete spam from your blog.
Yeah.
Number 2, we just released. It's called Jetpack.
Jetpack.
And it's basically a collection of plugins and add-ons for WordPress in one sort of streamlined package that just makes your blog way cooler. Gives you stats and lots of cool embed options, and it also connects you to the WordPress.com cloud, so we can push more features to you in the future. And number 3 is VaultPress, which is, as we said before, more for the serious bloggers. Like if you're building your business on your WordPress blog, or it's your corporate website or something. It's kind of like insurance for your blog. So basically, at $15 a month and up, it creates a real-time backup. It scans your blog for security or spam. It constantly is checking things and making sure you're up to date and have the latest fixes. And it's pretty cool. That's VAULT press.com.
Okay. Now this is going to, I always ask sometimes the stupidest questions, trying to pretend like I'm wanting to share them with people out there, but in reality a lot of it's for my own purposes. And one thing I hear all the time is people are like, well, if you're going to set up a website, just set it up on a WordPress blog. I mean, why do you need a website? So, or why do you have to go and hire a web designer? Just set up your website on a WordPress blog. Now, when someone that doesn't even have a website, say I don't know how often in San Francisco you run across those types of people, but let's say you go in other parts of the world, and someone's like, yeah, I don't even have a website and I want to set one up. What would you say to that person? Because I run across that with brick and mortar people all the time that, that aren't really technology savvy. And I mean, would you just say, go to WordPress and use WordPress as your website? Or is there a better way to give that advice?
I usually point people to WordPress.com. Because the nice thing about WordPress.com is you can get started really easily. And it's, rather than hosting it yourself, it's a much more streamlined process. And you can get a domain when you sign up. So once you have your domain, you're on WordPress.com. For a lot of people, that'll be perfect. Like they can do everything they need there. But if you want to graduate to hosting it yourself, the nice thing is that we provide a full export of everything. So you're not locked in to our hosting. You can host with GoDaddy or Bluehost or anyone you want. And two, that we redirect all your traffic to wherever you move to. And so you don't lose any page rank or any visitors or any subscribers. And so what we believe is that the more open you are, the easier you make it for people to leave, the more likely they are to stay. And even since we're pretty agnostic as to whether you use our services or not, as long as you're on WordPress, you're part of the family. So it's a good sort of gateway drug to WordPress.
Yeah, no, in open source, I mean, because I've had this conversation with you before, I mean, you very much like the whole world of just putting stuff out there and letting people use it. You really don't lock people into anything, as far as I know, on any of the stuff you had. I mean, it's pretty easy to, because a lot of companies want you totally tangled up so you never leave them. That's the complete opposite of your philosophy, right?
Yeah, because I think it fundamentally comes down to respect for your users. I mean, I wouldn't want to be treated that way, so why should we treat our customers that way?
Yeah, okay. So let's go over here too. Any final things that we can have, like the beautiful background scenery, and there's a noisy fan there. I want to make sure that everyone can hear.
Sorry about that.
No, hey.
It is a pier, so it's a little bit janky in places.
I think it's kind of cool. All right. We were talking the other day about favorite books. You obviously have access to lots of stuff to read. I mean, you've got millions of users of your blogs. There's lots of technology. You know a bunch of smart people. How do you decide what to pay attention to in the tech world, in the in the trends of the industry? I mean, how do you decide what to give your time, attention, energy, and learning to?
For the daily news, I'll often go to the site called TechMe. TechMe,
okay.
MEME.com. Okay. And it's just sort of an aggregation of all the top tech blogs and everything. It's pretty cool. For deeper analysis, like if I want to understand the why behind a story, not just the what, I go to the site called Gigaom, GIGAOM.com. Okay. And they tend to have better commentary. It's more like The Economist rather than like the Daily News. That's where I get a lot of my tech stuff.
And the question the other day that someone posed to you is like, if someone really wanted to understand you, what would be the top three books that you'd recommend? Do you remember what those were? One of them was The Black Swan.
Black Swan by Nassim Taleb. I would recommend Talent is Overrated. I believe that's by Jeff Colvin, something like that, but Talent is Overrated. Okay. And the third one, if you really wanted to understand me, would be The Cathedral and the Bazaar.
The Cathedral and the Bazaar.
It's by Eric Raymond, and it's one of the sort of pivotal, early open source essays. I later turned into a book that sort of lays out the ideas of open source, free software, the philosophy behind why we do what we do. And open source is one of the most powerful ideas, I think, of the past 20 years. New ideas.
Right.
Truly new ideologies. So it's good for anyone to understand that.
Very cool, very cool. Well, I'm a big believer in networks, but what I call genius networks, which is why I came up with the term genius. It's like people that just have tremendous wisdom, and like I have a genius network mastermind, and I always want the top industry transformers surrounding me, because that's where I learn the most from. And I consider an industry transformer someone that literally goes into an industry and transforms it. Do you think of yourself that way? I mean, you got 30 million people that are using something that you created, and it's just, I mean, just a couple of years ago, it was, I think, at 13 million. So I mean, your company's growing massively, and there's a lot of people out there. I mean, do you think of yourself as the impact that, I mean, every day that there's millions and millions of people that are out there using something you created, or do you just feel like, oh, it's kind of cool? I mean, what do you think of yourself?
No, that's a tough question to answer.
Yeah, well, and because you're truly one of the nicest, coolest, non-pretentious, non-egotistical people I know. I mean, really, you just are genuinely a friendly person in every environment. You don't have a big ego, and I know a lot of people that, if they've done a fraction of what you've accomplished, think they're, you know, king of the hill sort of thing, and treat people, you know, like they're lesser than. And I've never seen you be anything but just a class act. So
I appreciate that.
No, and I say that sincerely. Not just something. I absolutely say that sincerely. And you know, even Tim Ferriss, who I met you through Tim. You know, when I saw him on stage once, and he was talking about people he admires, and he said, "Yeah, Matt, you know, he's just amazing because the guy can just, you know, he's just so cool, and he's so collected, and he doesn't freak out over stuff, and doesn't, you know, get angry at people, and I think it's kind of interesting." You've done a big thing, though. I mean, you know, what you've created is very significant. I mean, many people run their businesses off of what you've created. I mean, millions of dollars are transacted, tons of causes and beliefs and views on everything are communicated and distributed through what you created. I mean, what?
I guess I think of it as a big responsibility. Mm-hmm. For the reasons you said, it's not a reason to celebrate. It's kind of a reason to work harder.
Yeah.
Because so many people are staking their websites, their businesses, their livelihoods on the WordPress ecosystem. It behooves myself and the broader community to make it as healthy as possible. So to try and make decisions for the long term, things that work over the next 10, 20, 30 years, rather than optimizing for, say, short-term profit or just, you know, the fads of the day. So we think a lot about, what that long term looks like, and try to weigh every decision in the long run.
Well, okay, so for all of your users out there, what are some of the things that, like a year out, 2 years out, that you think they should pay attention to, because there's going to be shifts in the industry, from usage of things like Facebook to all the social network, and any things to be on the lookout for?
I think the social media wave is definitely, like, it's already happened. You know, Facebook has happened, and Twitter has happened, and everything like that. And it's just, you should be there. It's like a baseline. For next, I think it becomes more about relevance. And this is challenging, because if Facebook or Twitter is the bulk of your distribution, however they choose to customize people's streams to emphasize or de-emphasize your content, you know, the fate of your distribution to your followers there kind of hangs in the balance.
Right.
For example, Facebook doesn't show the most recent messages. It shows ones they pick from certain people based on some secret sauce. And they de-emphasize things imported from Twitter, for example. It was a alleged claim that they did against them recently. And so things like that. So I think it's going to become more and more important to sort of own your distribution channels. The same way artists should own their masters, you know, music artists or things like that. You should have your own, I guess in the marketing world, you call it your own list.
Yeah. That's what we call it.
Well, and that's crucial. So I think about that. So I want people with WordPress to have, and this is the big thinking behind Jetpack. Jetpack is really sort of our next 5-year plan, is that we want to give people the best of the control of hosting the site themselves, running any plugin they want, any theme, anything. Although if you're watching, I do recommend you, if you're buying a plugin or theme, make sure it's 100% GPL. So ask them, is this 100% GPL?
What does that mean, GPL?
GPL is the license that WordPress is under. So if something's 100% GPL, it means that the freedoms afforded to you by the software are the same that you get from WordPress itself.
Gotcha.
If it's under a proprietary license, they might do things like say, you can use this, but a year from now we're going to say you can't anymore. Or you can use this up to 5 employees, and then you have to pay us 10 times as much. Or just, you know, anything they want. It's a proprietary license.
Gotcha.
You can't do that under the GPL. That was a tangent. Oh, Jetpack. We want to give people the best of hosting themselves that control, with the benefits of these network services. So like the network effects that you get from a Facebook or a Twitter. So that's what we're trying to do.
Very cool. Okay, and let me say, if you still don't know this, WordPress is like free.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you guys actually make money?
So we have add-ons to WordPress, basically. So through us you can buy domain names, anti-spam, security and backup, We have a service called, I guess you have a lot of marketers who watch this, check out PullDaddy. If you use SurveyMonkey or anything like that, PullDaddy is actually a way better survey and polling platform. And you don't get the embarrassing SurveyMonkey URL in there or anything like that.
Okay.
It's pretty neat.
Okay.
So PullDaddy, we just have a number of these.
Do you own PullDaddy?
We do.
Okay.
We have a number of these internet complementary services to WordPress that we run and create.
Can you just like start something, anything, and just name it after me? Just so I can say that, like, that would be
Maureen Joe.
Just think about that, yeah.
Okay. Well, we do have a product called polishmywriting.com.
You're kidding.
Yeah, well, it's not, it could be polishmywriting.com just for you. But
oh my God.
It's basically a contextual spelling and grammar checker. So you can go in there, paste in whatever you're writing, and it's really smart.
That's so appropriate for me because I can't spell anything. Yeah.
Well, it's even if you spell words correctly, they might be misused. So let's say he was ahead in the polls. He spelled it P-O-L-E-S.
Gotcha.
That's correct spelling, so your spell checker won't catch that, but you still look like a dumbass. So this catches that.
Very cool. Okay, so those are some of the...
Smarter than Microsoft Word.
Wow. Awesome. All right, well, this is basically a short, Genius Network interview with Matt, and we're going to do a extended one probably in a couple months on ilovemarketing.com. And how many people do you think will be using WordPress 10 years from now? What's your projection? Because I'm going to look back at this video 10 years from now,
10 years from
and I'm
now.
going to be like, just think when Matt was just an infant, and look where he's come.
That's a tough question. So it would be a percentage of websites in the world. So right now we're about 11 or 12%.
11 or 12% of the websites in the world are yours?
Roughly, yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
So in 10 years, let's call it 350 million.
350 million. Okay, very cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually go on whatever calendaring system I have currently, and I'm going to mark that as this particular day in 2011. And
350 million blogs or websites powered by WordPress.
Very cool. Well, again, Matt, I've said this a million times. I think you've done a fantastic thing for the world. I appreciate all you've done. You're an awesome entrepreneur, and so thank you. And if I wasn't such a typical jackass, I'd be more goofy. I say that in all sincerity.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for inviting us to your headquarters. And so here's the deal: if you would like a WordPress T-shirt, on the comments on ilovemarketing.com, just go ahead and share with us what it is you're doing. And I will continually share with you what Matt is up to, what Automattic, the way that they spell Automattic for Automattic.com is spelled how? The website for Automattic, which is the company, and that's where you can find out everything about WordPress as well.
AUTOMATT, like my name, IC.com.
Gotcha.
I also want to revise that up. I'm going to say 550 million.
550, okay, wow, jumping in a couple hundred million. The small thinkers, that's small thing. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. Awesome. Have a great day. Go do something useful. Say you love somebody, your mother, your family, your friends, and go to WordPress and blog about it.